Good morning. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. Thanks for waking up with us this morning as we get ready for the afternoon slate and evening slate of Major League Baseball. It is rivalry weekend. At least that's what they're calling it this weekend. Great to see you, George, once again here on the show. We also have a lot of news to recap from the night before. We'll get into the afternoon baseball games as well. How are you?
Doing well. It's rivalry weekend. It's kind of fun, right? You got all the Angels and Dodgers playing, Yankees and Mets. So I'm kind of enjoying it. Braves, Red Sox. I don't know how that's a rivalry, but Seattle, San Diego. But it's good to see all the games this weekend. And like I said, it's fun.
Marlins Rays. Don't forget that one, George. That's a big one. You can't get
believe
into
it's
it.
on the top of my head. Can't believe it.
I mean, you of all people who went to that stadium this year and saw the Rays play the Yankees, not on board with the Citrus series between the Marlins and Rays. Before we get to the weekend ahead of time, I think people are probably waking up this morning and looking at the stats, George, which is what we do forever. Generally, when we start off the show, nothing crazy happens overnight, but a lot did. The Giants end up getting 3 home runs and 8 RBIs from Wilmer Flores. This guy's like on pace to have a career year. And the home run leader again is Shohei Ohtani. Although they lost last night, he ended up hitting his 16th home run. But, Flores, George, got off to that tremendous start in April, has cooled down a little bit. But, I mean, needless to say, this guy's on pace to hit 30 home runs this season.
He is. He hit 3 home runs last night. The first thing I'm thinking of is that helped nobody. As in, I don't know how people started him last night. It's one of those guys. Yeah, you need to, it's tough because he plays different positions here, but he's not, as you said, he got up to a hot start, then he cooled off. So he's that guy you probably had for a little bit. Then once he cooled off, you either got rid of him, you released him, or he was on your bench last night. So I don't know how many people he did help, although I'm hearing from Sam that Sam started him. Good for you, Sam. Makes me want to know what your original first baseman was that you didn't have that guy in your lineup. But hey, good for Will Flores, a nice, useful little player there. And like I said, he is having a good season. But Craig, I just think in a week, you're going to want to put him back on your bench.
Yeah, and listen, if Sam is playing in an NL only league, or those of you who are playing in a National League only league, then yeah, I mean, this guy carried you during the week. But there honestly aren't a ton of people that are even playing in those only leagues anymore. I wish it was the case, George, like it was 20, 30 years ago. But a lot of folks are down to like just playing head-to-head leagues at this point. I get it, I understand it. Subway Series going on this weekend. Yankees and Mets, of course. Juan Soto returns to the Bronx, where he spent a good amount of time. The fans, beginning of the game, turned their back on him. Juan Soto was great for the Yankees. You can make the case in the postseason he was better than Aaron Judge for the Yankees, but naturally he is now a Met, and we'll get into that as well. Orioles, I don't know where the Orioles go from here. They just keep losing, and there's a lot of people under fire for sort of the decision-making process that's happened here. I want to get into that as well. Great pitching matchup between Hunter Brown and Jacob deGrom. Goes to deGrom, maybe his best start in years. And Roki Sasaki placed on the injured list. We know that Buxton and Correa collided. I think everything's going to be okay as far as that is concerned. And also, let's make sure we mention that the longest streak winning in Major League Baseball this season is courtesy of the Minnesota Twins. They won their 12th game yesterday. George, it felt like we were here last week and we were like, all right, maybe the Twins are out. They're done. And here they are. Like, they're just on fire. And I guess we just dismissed them a little too soon. So any direction you want to go, take it. That's kind of where I'll begin.
You start from the top there, though. It's the Soto return. People kept asking me, "Oh, what do you think is going to happen?" Well, he's going to get booed. Okay, it's Yankee Stadium. You're going to get booed. I never blame, as a Yankee fan, I never blame Soto for leaving. He took the most money. Fine. You didn't want to play in the Bronx. Maybe it was whatever happened with it. You didn't get a luxury box, or whatever. Your family wasn't allowed. Whatever. You took the most money here. Fine. Not a big deal. As I've been saying all week long, if you're a Yankee fan, you should be very thankful that Soto is not a Yankee this year, because if he was, you wouldn't have Max Fried, because there was no way they were going to sign Soto and Max Fried. All right, then the Yankees needed Fried this year a hell of a lot more than they needed Soto with the injury to Garrett Cole. The Baltimore Orioles, I wonder this, Greg, what have we seen so far this year? All right, when a team is, there was more ownership's fault than anything else, and a team's terrible, what do? They fire the manager, sort of deflect blame here. So that with the Pirates. All right, so that with Colorado, could Baltimore be next? If I'm high, then maybe I'll be worried about my job a little bit for a team that we thought more was coming, but for an organization that did nothing, I'm sorry. you signed Tyler O'Neill. Ooh. Now, granted, I'm the first person to tell you that I thought it would be the pitching that'd be a problem with Baltimore. Once they let Corbin Burns go, didn't have that true ace, had a bunch of number threes, number fours. Pitching's been okay. It's been the hitting that's disappeared. And that I did not see coming there. Baltimore, I'm looking here, they're 10.5 games already out of first place
Yeah.
in a very weak American League East. All right, so yeah, very concerning. Minnesota, by the way, sort of the exact opposite. You just said they've won 12 straight games, playing fantastic, yet they're still in third place. You know, they're not in first. They're in third place in the American League Central, which I found shocking. I knew they weren't in first. I knew it was Detroit, but I thought at least they'd be in second here. But they needed that 12-game win streak. Saw that collision between Buxton and Correa live. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? Watching that game here. I think Correa's in the IL concussion IL here, so he'll be out a little bit. Buxton looks like he's cleared that. Maybe he gets back in the lineup today.
Yeah, and going back to the Orioles for a minute, you're right. I mean, the hitting has been a surprise disappointment for them, but you would have to think that that would even out over the course of the season. But George, with the pitching that they have combined with the way that the hitters are performing, I just don't see any path for Baltimore to get out of it. On April 1st, their chances were 50-50 to make the playoffs. Now they're down to 4% to make the playoffs as well. And look, I mean, the system that they have in place, George, is basically to be very bullish on your own players, your own prospects, and not to move them, and to sort of every year, George, hover around 85 to 90 wins and bank on some luck in the playoffs. That's kind of what they want to do, just be consistently good for decades just by playing that game. But you can't count on that. And that's what they're finding out the hard way this season. And as you mentioned, they tried to sign Corbin Burns. They didn't end up getting him. So they pivoted Kyle Gibson, Charlie Morton. I mean, that was not going to work out. Combined with the fact that the hitting has not been there, it's a recipe for disaster. Is this Brandon Hyde's fault? Probably not. But when a team gets off to this bad a start, there's always going to be some culpability with the manager. So I think you're right. And I guess we are basically at Memorial Day, and that's usually the time that teams take a look at themselves. That's next week. So, yeah, I do think some changes potentially will be made. Great pitching game, in case you missed it. I mean, Hunter Brown has been one of the best pitchers in baseball this season, and he faced off directly with Jacob deGrom. deGrom got all the headlights. Hunter Brown was just as good. It's like this new era of the ace in Houston, George, for the first time, right? Like it was Garrett Cole and it was Verlander and it was Framber Valdez, but now Hunter Brown is their ace. And we talked about pitching, during the draft season about Jacob deGrom. Can't take him. It's too early. Well, thus far, he's paying dividends on that draft pick. It's all about health with him. But George, if this guy makes 25 starts, I mean, he's going to grade out like a first-round pitcher this year,
Easily, right? Easily. He's let up, look here, he hasn't let up more than one earned run in a start since his second start of the season. So as you look at that April 5th. Other than that, it's been pretty amazing. Last couple starts, 0 runs, 2 1 0 2 1. So he did let up 3 earned runs against Seattle his third start. So after his first couple of starts, he's been dynamic. I mean, absolutely dynamic here, where he's the deGrom of old. He's got more than a strikeout per inning. His whip is 0.98. I mean, his ERA is a little over 2. You're getting everything you could want out of Jacob deGrom. You weren't getting innings, right? They were babying him. And maybe that's a good thing, by the way. If it keeps him healthy, baby him all you like here. No issue with that. He did go long his last start here. deGrom has been great if you no matter where you draft him this year. But you're right. I'm guessing worst case scenario was teens, and maybe even much later than that. But he's been a fantastic return on your investment.
We're off and running here on Fantasy Sports Today. Coming up next, we play a little 3 up, 3 down. Good weeks and bad weeks in fantasy baseball as we continue on here with the show. We'll be right back with more. Don't go away.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing
him
your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on Sports Grid. Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. Let's dive into who's hot, who's not, 3 up, 3 down here on the Saturday edition of the show. And George, here's one player the Dodgers are really going to need to be up while Teoscar Hernandez is down. That's Andy Pages, who hit 2 home runs this past week. 5 home runs, stole a couple of bases, and also hit 292. George, they've been waiting on Pages to, certainly hold his own in the big leagues. Sort of happened a little bit last year. It's happening this year. They've also called up Dalton Rushing. We saw that. Dodgers, no strangers to the prospect game. And it's one of those cases where we use that old cliche, the rich get richer. It always seems like LA has somebody waiting in the wings to start and play. And so far, so good for Pages.
Yeah, you're sort of hinting there. It's almost unfair, right? The Dodgers have such a good minor league system, right? They bring up players and they develop them very well here. Pitching was where they always were good at. Now they're developing outfield. You mentioned Rushing, by the way. Who, if you're a Will Smith person, by the way, probably driving you a little crazy. They called up their number 1 prospect, who's a catcher, who really has no other place to play. Not like he's playing DH. That's Ohtani. He's not going to play first base over Freeman. I mean, I found that weird, Craig. They would call him up a catcher because you want a catcher to play every day. You number 1 prospect. And Will Smith's having a good year. Pages has been great as well here. Now we are hearing that Teoscar Hernandez is starting to ramp up baseball activities. So we'll see how this is going to play out in a week, 10 days maybe, once Hernandez is back. But for now, yeah, you're starting Pages. Although I admit last night, he didn't have a good night last night. I think he bounced into a couple of double plays there in that loss to the Angels.
All right. Now, New York Mets fans, if they're always going to find something to complain about, this is the guy that they love complaining about, Brett Baty, but he shut him up for at least a week. 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. It's like almost not fair, man. It's very, very tough to be a rookie or a young player, I should say, in New York. A good week for Baty, though. This is sort of the situation where, George, the Mets are good. They're going to be good. And, there's a lot of speculation. Maybe at some point, if the Mets need to get better, this is a player that they would move to another team to do that, maybe later this summer. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. But I'm happy for Baty because he has just been taking it a lot.
The problem with Baty, and listen, I like Baty. All right, as a Yankee fan, I would love Baty third base for the Yankees. That swing at Yankee Stadium would be great. It'll never happen, mind you. The Mets will never trade him there, but I can dream there. But his problem is this: I think he needs to get out of New York because he's never going to get a long-term look there. Right, he's playing well now, so he'll play. Didn't play last night with the Rodon on the mound, which means he won't play tomorrow either with Fried on the mound. So that's frustrating. They're not going to play him against lefties, so they're already pigeonholing him into a platoon player here. Not good, although it is the correct side of the platoon. But also, if he's not hitting, he has a bad game or two, he's going to sit because the Mets have 17 players who can play those positions. Right? Sometimes they move Vientos to second base. Where you got McNeil, you got Acuna. Lindor's not going anywhere. So it's sort of a log jam there. And for Baty, in my mind, Craig, he needs to go someplace else and be able to play. every day, or at least 4 or 5 days a week, something he's not going to get a chance, at least not every week with the New York Mets. There's too many players there. And as you said, they're a winning team. All right. They're not going to have the patience to wait for him.
Helio Ramos of the Giants had a fantastic year last year, hoping to double down on that this year. Off to a really good start again, George. 7 home runs now on the season after hitting a couple this week, hitting 550. The Giants are just that team. So far, everyone's just kind of waiting for that shoe to drop, for them to fall off. It starts to happen a little. They lose a few in a row, then they bounce back. But Ramos is a big part of the offense, and certainly coming into his own as a fantasy player, too, 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I've got him in my home league here, so I'm definitely a Ramos fan, to put it nicely. Keep going, Elliot. He was once a top prospect for the Giants, right? So this is not too big of a surprise here. He should be on roster in every league. Once again, we start 5 outfielders in a lot of leagues, times 12, 60, reserves, utility. Every starting outfielder is gone anyway, but he's not going to hit 550. But I think this is a useful player, sort of an outfielder 3, outfielder 4 for your fantasy team. Does have some pop. I think he's going to finish the season hitting 20, 25 home runs. May steal a couple of bases for you, double digits, but nothing fantastic with an average that won't hurt you. So, yeah, I'm a Ramos believer here. Like I said, I'm not saying he's number 1 or number 2, but a nice number 3 now, 4 outfielder is someone you need here. I am a Ramos believer. And, yeah, San Fran, tough to hit home runs, but he's a right-hander. A little easier for right-handers than it is left-handers.
All right, now we go to the Milwaukee Brewers, where Bryce Terang was one of the big surprises in all of fantasy last year, stole 50 bases. George, not quite having the same success, but you can see that number there. He did steal 3 bases this past week. And I feel like that's why a lot of people drafted him in fantasy anyway. There's 11 steals I see over the course of the season. If I'm going to extrapolate that, I don't know that he's necessarily going to get to 50. Maybe the number would be 35 or 40, something along those lines. Maybe 50 was just a high mark. But George, it's just like anything in sports. You have advanced scouting. They know that the guy steals bases. He was, I think, 2nd or 3rd in stolen bases in the majors last year. So it's going to be a little bit tougher on him. But I think just kind of a bad week. Not really concerned. But what you took him for is what you kind of got. He stole 3 bases.
Your last line is exactly how I would put it. All right, he's doing what you want him to do. All right, if you drafted Terang, you're not looking for power. You'll hit double-digit home runs somewhere around there. But he's going to have an average that probably won't hurt you, more than likely will help you, all right, and steal the bases. If I was drafting Terang, that's what I want. Don't kill my average. Give me my bags. All right, I think he'll steal, high 30s, low 40s, somewhere around there. It's pretty much what he's on pace for, so I'm right with you there, Craig. Bad week, not really worried about it. He's doing what I want him to do.
All right, now the Tigers, certainly have the pitching, and what they've needed is the hitting. And up until about a week ago, this was like the perfect storm where Spencer Torkelson, the former number 1 overall pick, is absolutely delivering. You look at his WAR this season. I mean, he's on pace to break his personal records. He's already got 11 home runs. Just a bad week for him, George, with a 118 batting average. And I notice his batting average itself, if you pay any attention to that, it's down under 240 now. So I suppose that this is just a player to monitor. Hopefully you did not get the very best of his season in April and May, but track record tells you there's still a lot of swing and miss and a lot of low batting average with this player.
It does. You hope he's finally coming into his own. Remember, he wasn't even starting with the team in April, March, right? Then he started to get off to a hot start, playing well, put him in the lineup here. I'm not panicking yet, but I'm aware. All right, let's watch this guy for another week. Maybe I don't start him next week. We have another option. I can think of that too. You want to talk about the Tigers? Javi Baez. What a return from him this year.
Out of nowhere. Didn't see that coming. All right, our aces of the week in fantasy are up next, so stay with us here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers'
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong.
I
It is
just told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
when you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
tape
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a 7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the
Stop
history of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
And welcome back to Fantasy Sports today on SportsGrid. Thanks for waking up with us this morning. We're talking some fantasy baseball. I know it's early for a lot of you. Don't worry. Plenty of NBA talk coming up a little bit later with the Knicks advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. Plenty of talk coming up, of course, no doubt on the PGA Championship later on our network. And then, of course, we'll have coverage of the Preakness as well. People are wondering, like, wait a second, these guys are talking fantasy? There's, like, so much going on here on this Saturday. But that's what we do here every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. Let's take a look at our aces of the week. I'm going to start off. You know, this may not have been the best start of the week, but I felt like we needed to give a little homage to the Minnesota Twins. I mean, they've won 12 games in a row, so they're going to have a good performance now and then, you would think. And they did from Chris Paddock on Thursday. Sort of shocking to see his last couple of starts. I mean, remember how good George Paddock was supposed to be, 4 or 5 years ago. Now he's sort of refound himself with the Twins because every Paddock start, George, when he was with the Padres, looked like 6 2/3, 10 strikeouts, 3 earned runs. Now, not the strikeouts, but going deeper into the games. And it just goes to show you can reinvent yourself as a player. He did do it against Baltimore. We've illustrated that the Orioles certainly have not shown the most offensive promise this season, but it was in a tough environment too, playing at Camden Yards. 12 games in a row for the Twins, getting some unlikely performances.
You take away his first start of the season. I hate playing this game, by the way, because they all count, but he got crushed. He gave up 9 earned runs against the Chicago White Sox. Since then, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 0. Those are his earned runs. I mean, my God. I got to tell you, Craig, when you were talking about him, I actually went to my home league. I'm like, is this guy available? And he is available. I am literally going to have to put in a claim for him. That's too. You can't pass it up. I understand the Twins have been winning, but this guy's pitched great all year long, other than his first start where he got. It was the White Sox. Okay, bad start, but I'll take that. So, yeah, I'm going to have to put in a claim for a Paddock because I have a guy you mentioned earlier, Sasaki, on the IL now. So I have a slot on my roster so I can do it. So, yeah, Paddock's been absolutely fantastic. He'll be on my team tomorrow.
All right, George, who is your ace of the week?
Yeah, I thought there were several choices here that we could have gone with here. Now, I let our producer, our esteemed producer, Sam, make the choice for me here. He took Clark Schmidt, who I think deserves some mentioning here. Clark, of course, started the season on the IL, a little injured there. He's pitching better of late. He's never going to be a lights-out guy. Oh, my God, he's going to strike out 11 guys here and, be that ace starter. No, he's not going to be that. He's going to be a solid starter for your fantasy team, give you those quality starts you're looking for, strike out 5-6 guys over pretty much 5-6 innings. The Yankees are a very conservative team. They're one of those teams where, hey, that third time through the lineup, the bullpen's getting hot. All right, that's just what the Yankees, Cashman, and Boone believe in. So he's not going to go deep into games. At least very rarely go deep into games. I thought maybe in deeper leagues you could put Will Warren here as well. What a great start against Seattle. He's much riskier as far as okay, you got a good start this week. But he does get the Rangers next week and also the Colorado Rockies. So Will Warren in a deeper league gets two good starts next week for the New York Yankees as well.
And our final ace of the week is Patrick Corbin, says Sam, the former National, now turned Texas Ranger. I thought that we had agreed at the beginning of the season that anyone who faced the Rockies and did well would not qualify, but I guess we have gone back on that. It was on Wednesday. He pitched 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. It's the Rockies, George. It's the worst team in baseball, George. Why should anybody be surprised?
Why? Once again, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 3. That's his earned runs and starts this week. I joked when Sam asked us, I'm like, oh, please don't make me talk about Patrick Corbin. I'll claw my eyes out. If you heard Joe Ranieri and I, we've been making fun of this guy all year long, waiting for him to be a pinata and get destroyed here. But he's not. He's pitching well here. 2-start week next week, I believe. All right, so one's against the Yankees, by the way. Yeah, I mean, he's pitching well, Craig. You got to pick him up. I mean, you probably have to start him right now. Do I think you're going to want to start him all year long? No. I assume eventually the clock's going to strike midnight, pumpkin and all this stuff. But for now, he goes. He just goes here. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know how he found this, but he's pitching well for the Texas Rangers. I'm starting him.
All right. We will talk about who you're not going to be start for the upcoming week in fantasy. Again, got to set your lineups in some of these leagues ahead of time on Sunday night or Monday, and we'll get into injuries in fantasy baseball, including a major league start coming for a future Hall of Famer. That's on deck. You're watching Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying him.
You're doing your thing now where you double down on a tape
no, I'm not doing that. The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not,
a 7th-round
There were
pick
2
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on Sports Grid. Let's go through the injuries in fantasy baseball. Want to make sure that if you have any of these players, got to check very specifically with this Twins situation, because in case you missed it earlier in the week, George, as you know, two Twins collided with each other. They're playing great baseball. They've been a focus here on this show, 12 games in a row. But Buxton and Correa both in concussion protocol. Correa probably out longer than Buxton, at least for the time being. We also have Tanner Houck for the Red Sox placed on the injured list, 15-day right forearm tightness. So you know what that could mean. We hope not, but let's just get real. That's usually, you know, what it leads to. Jose Quintana of the Brewers also placed on the injured list. Bryce Miller, the same. And then, of course, the key name that we found out early in the week was not going to pitch this week was Roki Sasaki of the Dodgers. And it's just so insane, George, that the Dodgers have probably had more pitching injuries than anybody in baseball. But then you take a look at their box score if you're not watching the game, and you got some guys you've literally never heard of throwing 4 or 5 innings at a time, either in the middle of the game or at the beginning of the game. You know, the injury stinks for fantasy, and especially in like these auction leagues where Sasaki was going for like $25-$30. But for the Dodgers, I just think the ball just keeps rolling for them. It just like does. I mean, it does matter. Let me not say it doesn't. But all things being equal, this is a factory of development. They just call the next guy up.
I mean, it's last year all over again, right? Their starting rotation is Yamamoto, Tustin May, Gonsolin, Knack, and Sauer. All right, I know Kershaw's going today, so he'll replace, I guess, Sauer there. So, but it's amazing. I mean, all the injuries, and none of the injuries are close to returning, right? Snell, he had a little bit of a setback there, so we'll see. Glasnow, maybe by the end of the month, he just started to throw now. We'll see what Kershaw can even bring you. And Sasaki just went on here. But, you know, Dodgers, listen, they spent $1 gazillion. They have so many starting pitchers. They're going to be just fine here. They're not going to win the 110 games where everybody was predicting for them, or maybe make a run at the Seattle Mariners in their record. But, you know, it is what it is with the Dodgers there. Those last two names on the list are both on my team, my home team, by the way, Miller and Sasaki. I got to tell you, Craig, Sasaki, it's a weekly league. I was probably releasing him this weekend anyway, you know, so I was going to move on. I was about done. Wasn't pitching well. Fine, time to move on. Put him on the IL. At least now I get to keep him for another couple of weeks. But odds are when he comes back, I don't think I'm taking him back anyway. I'm probably going to move on. Bryce Miller is probably one of my biggest disappointments this year. I thought he was going to be maybe a little clandestine Cy Young award candidate. Didn't work out. He wasn't pitching well before the injury. Maybe the injury is the reason why here. And as you said here, Correa's in concussion program. Buxton has cleared concussion program, so the concussion protocol. So there's a chance he could play today. We'll see here. That was a nasty collision the other day as Buxton was coming in to catch a pop-up. Correa was going out to catch it. Buxton called it, and Correa heard him, but it was too late. Correa couldn't clear in time.
So the Dodgers will get Clayton Kershaw back, and this is more of a reality than fantasy, I think, George, because I think even as we saw last year, you have to temper some of the expectations for Kershaw. Now, remember, it was just a couple of years ago, All-Star game in LA, he ended up starting in the All-Star game, had a really good first half of the season. So, George, the NL leagues, of course, he's probably sitting on an IL somewhere. The mixed leagues, maybe you have a chance to pick him up. I'm not really sure what we're going to get here, George. My estimation is that they're not bringing him back too soon. I'm not going to say that, but doesn't this appear to be more of, hey, look, instead of bringing Kershaw back in June, we've got so many injuries now. If he's ready, let's just see what we got here. At least that's what it feels like to me. I did not anticipate him coming back this soon. It always kind of felt to me like he was going to be a second half of the season pitcher. But the Dodgers have had more injuries than anybody else. I guess let's roll Kershaw out for 4 or 5 innings and see what we got.
Oh, I think you nailed it. I think I completely agree. All right, I don't think he'd be back here without these injuries. I think in some ways these are just rehab starts he's making for the Dodgers. He's going to go 4 or 5 innings, not going to go deep into games. They're saying his velocity right now is topping out in the high 80s. All right. Once again, that home league I play in, this is not an industry league. It's with my buddies, friends, family. It's a 12-team league. Deep league. He's still on the waiver wire. All right. No one's claiming it, which is shocking to me. Shocking. Once again, points thing. Wins are so important. Dodger pitchers. Every Dodger pitcher. Sandy Koufax is on someone's team. Yeah. All right. But yet nobody claimed Clayton Kershaw. And I just mentioned, I have an open roster spot. I'm taking Paddock over him. All right. That's not even really a consideration for me. I don't want Kershaw, not right now either. Not without seeing what he can do.
Yeah, and look, I think that he's just very smart. He'll find a way to get through this thing. But it's sort of incredible at this point that we are seeing this golden age of the 3 pitching future Hall of Famers come to an end. Verlander with the Giants, Scherzer, who's barely pitched with Toronto, and now Kershaw back with LA. For all going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. And you would have to guess, George, that after this season, there will not be those 3 coming back next year. I mean, if there's one, I think it'd be a lot. I'd probably bet under on 1.5. Okay, Spencer Strider also will be back. As you mentioned, George, off the air, the Braves appear to be back. They're going to get Ronald Acuna back. They were just hoping to tread water, I think, until they got their best pitcher and best hitter back. And they've done more than that. They had a horrible April. They've picked it up in May. And dare I say, the Braves are probably exactly where they need to be. They may not win the division, but look, what has the division really gotten them over the last few years anyway?
Once again, agree on all points here as well. Braves finally passed the 500 mark last night. They're only 5 games out of first place, by the way. We are mid-freaking May. This season is a long way to go here. I think the Braves didn't want to tread water until they got Acuna back, until they got Strider back. And I think they're both coming back next week. I know Strider, as he's pitching on Monday against Sam's Nats. I think against Trevor Williams offhand there. So Strider's going to be activated in all the fantasy leagues here. So Strider goes back in your lineup. I know there were reports during the sim game last week his velocity was down. Braves don't seem to be worried about it. I'm not all that worried about it either. I think he just wanted to get through it, prove he was healthy, and here we go. So I'm not all that worried about Strider, and you should get Acuna back. I think maybe a little later next week, but they're going to get him back as well here. So yeah, we're all on board the Strider train. You looked at him in his start, Greg. The man's been working out. All right, I mean, I think that was part of the problem, by the way. He's been working out, maybe a little too muscular there in the legs there. So hopefully he's past that here, and we can all be happy. It'll be Strider Day on Monday and Acuna Day a couple of days later.
All right, so that's the fantasy story. Now let's get to the big reality story of the week, which we haven't covered here yet. We're 40 minutes into the show. Pete Rose, George. Pete Rose was taken off the ineligible list along with Shoeless Joe Jackson and a lot of those other White Sox because, essentially, let's just keep it real. Pete Rose was removed from the ineligible list because he's no longer alive. I mean, that's it. I think if he's alive, this doesn't happen. I know a lot of people are upset that he didn't have a chance to be off the ineligible list while he was alive. I would tell you that was not going to happen. I don't think the commissioner of baseball was going to make him eligible, but basically they used sort of this backdoor idea to do that. And also I can tell you that, George, I believe the commissioner does not want to hold any culpability on the Hall of Fame. The ineligible list just happens to be a byproduct of how you vote in the Hall of Fame, but the two entities are separate. Yes, it's a museum, and yes, they combine all of the two things, but really one thing has nothing to do with the other. Major League Baseball does not vote on who gets into the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame does. But if you're on the ineligible list, you can't be on there. Okay. So now he is eligible and will not be voted this year because of the fact that they're going to vote in players from the 80s. That's the next decade to go in. So then the following year, George will find out as to whether or not believe he does get into the Hall of Fame. So I guess we could do this for 2 hours, but since it's a fantasy show, we'll just do it for another minute. George, I do think that there's a good shot that he gets voted in, but until we know who the voters are, I don't think we have a clue.
I think that's fair. I don't think we will know. It's just a couple of years away for that committee. He'll need 12 of the 16 votes of the members on that committee. Now, I'm old enough. I saw Rose play, both live and on TV. No doubt the man played the game harder than anybody else I've ever seen. So he deserves credit for that. It's everything off the field that's the issue. And Hall of Fame does have a character and integrity clause. Then again, there are a lot of guys in that Hall of Fame whose character and integrity are deeply in question here. Hall of Fame's a museum. Bottom line is you can't tell the history of baseball without Pete Rose. That's just the bottom line for me. Man, he wasn't a good guy at all, but I think he gets it eventually.
Yeah, I do think it happens eventually too. Okay, you know what else happens eventually? 2-star pitchers. We'll hit on those next.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
Yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is
Yes.
asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over a
not, though.
7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the
Stop
history of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
I wish I was. Welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on Sports Grid. We've got some big starts for some big pitchers in the upcoming week in fantasy baseball. Let's get right to it, George. Easy plug and play here right at the top. It's going to get a little tougher as we go down on this list, but we'll start off with the San Francisco Giants and Robbie Ray. I mean, the danger zone always for Ray is that one game could be 1 inning, 4 walks, and 7 runs. You just don't know. But all things being said, it doesn't matter who he faces. It's the Royals. It's the Nationals. Both teams are, okay. Washington maybe a little disappointing. Kansas City good, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you're plugging Ray in. You're not picking him up because he's not available in any league.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to trade for him right now. Not specifically him, but I have 3 closers on my team here. We only start 2, so I have an extra closer. I'm trying to acquire a starting pitcher here, and he's one of 4 pitchers on the squad I'm dealing with here, trying to get a starting pitcher. He's one of them, and I wouldn't mind him. That's good. Giants playing better than we thought. It's a good ballpark to pitch in. And then Ray, former Cy Young for a couple of years ago, and I think he might get better as the season goes along. I do wonder if he also gets a little tired as the season goes along. But bottom line is, I like Ray, certainly starting him this week, and I don't mind starting him for the rest of the season as well.
Now, Mitch Keller, I think, still falls under that category, too, of a player that's not available. It would only be a trade. He faces off Monday against the Reds. Tougher environment there. And then next Saturday against the Milwaukee Brewers. Certainly Skeens, the ace of the Pirates, but Keller de facto, right before Skeens got there, was the opening day starter for them, too. So very comfortable in having him start those 2 games. What I'm not comfortable with is knowing that the Pirates may only score, 4 runs in the 2 games combined.
That's the problem. That is the problem. Keller on a decent team or better is a number 2, right? I mean, a really good pitcher here. But with the Pirates, you're playing at Cincinnati, the Green American Small Park, and Milwaukee. I know they're not hitting right now. I assume that'll pick up a little bit here. But listen, if he's on your roster and you're not starting him this week, why is he on your roster? I understand getting wins is tough because they don't score runs here. We knew that coming into the season. You knew that when you drafted him. By the way, Skeens has the same problem. They all have the same problem here. But yeah, I'm starting him this week. I guess at the very least, you hope for quality starts. Maybe you have that as a stat here. Your ratios, your strikeouts. Is he going to get 2 wins? Highly unlikely. Right? Highly unlikely here. You really hope for 1 win and all the other stats that come along with it.
Quinn Priester, a new member of the Milwaukee Brewers, so to speak. He's been with them now for about a month. Will start Monday against the Orioles and Sunday against the Pirates. Now, this is a name, George, that may be available on the waiver wire. And, normally I would say, no, definitely not against the Orioles, maybe against the Pirates. But the way things are going right now, not a bad option.
Definition of a guy who you're probably not keeping long-term. All right, but he's got the right to start week. We already talked earlier in the show the Baltimore Orioles aren't hitting. All right, and they're not. And they haven't hit all year long. It doesn't mean it won't happen this week, but hey, I'll take a shot that it doesn't happen this week. And he's playing Pittsburgh. We know they can't hit against anybody. So, yeah, I'll start him. He's a guy who I'm probably starting next week, and then I'm moving on next weekend. All right, and as soon as he's pitched it, what he's pitching on Saturday or Sunday, I don't know whether offhand. From the graphic, it's Sunday. As soon as he's done pitching, I move on. And I find somebody else from maybe another 2-starter or someone like that. If you're looking for a pitcher on the Brewers I like, not a 2-starter next week, Logan Henderson's also someone to look at.
Cade Povich is in the Orioles rotation, and at this point, nothing should surprise you. So when I tell you his ERA is above 5, then you probably say, I don't care who it is, I'll pass. Probably the case here. At Milwaukee, at Boston on Sunday. George, no thanks.
How desperate are you? It's really what it comes down to. All right, if you need someone who's going to get some innings, you hope for double-digit innings, 10, 11. At Milwaukee, at Boston, that Boston star probably not going to go all that well at Fenway for a soft-throwing lefty. Milwaukee's 50-50 at best here. I don't want to start him. Like I said, how desperate are you is what the question becomes here. So I'm not dying to get Cade Povich.
Eric Fetty, who, George, I think tried to make French on the show last week. Or I think I tried to convince him that you pronounce his name Fede. I think we almost got there with that. He starts Tuesday at Detroit or versus Detroit. Wow, Sunday against Arizona. So let's be clear here. Fetty and the Cardinals both playing well. Fetty pitching well. But these are really tough matchups next week, George. Tuesday against Detroit, Sunday against Arizona. I suppose if you have injuries or anything else, you're starting him. And I'm guessing that he's probably being picked up in a number of leagues too, because generally when teams start winning, people go to the leagues and they're like, all right, who's playing well on these teams that are winning? Fetty's made some good starts. His ERA's in the 3s, not going to strike out a ton of batters. I mean, I guess if you have to do it, you do it, but I'm just not optimistic that they're going to win both of those games.
I'm with you. Now, Fetty was, I think, drafted in more leagues than not. He may not have been started in a lot of leagues, right? But he had a lot of pub coming into the season. He pitched pretty well last year. They wanted to trade him during the offseason, but I guess teams didn't believe in him, or the Cardinals just wanted too much for him. Then got up to a slow start. Didn't pitch all that well in April. Pitching better now. Had the shutout a couple of games ago, right? I agree with you. Detroit, Arizona, it's not great here, but it is a 2-start week. You already said it. Everybody has loads of injuries in their pitching staff. So I can't see how you're not starting them. Do I expect them to go great? No. Well, probably not. Okay? I think that's what you're looking for. Okay numbers at the end of it. So I'm probably starting them if I have them here. I just can't see how I have 5, 6, 7 better starting pitchers on my roster than Fetty right now. I'll take the 2 starts and see what happens.
Yeah, I think, George, when you look at St. Louis, to me, I mean, we focused a lot on Minnesota, but the Cardinals have been a really big surprise, too. I mean, I think the Cardinals want to win games, okay? I'm not saying that. But is that one of the bigger surprises in terms of winning streaks this season? Because, I'm fully looking at the Cardinals as a team that's in transition, that, I'll put it this way. I don't think they want to win 80 games, I think they want to win 90. Or they want to lose 100. I don't think they want to be in the middle this year.
They tried to trade out, right? They were trying to get rid of everybody. Sonny Gray, who turned him down. He has a no trade clause. Fede, couldn't trade him. Arenado, couldn't trade him. They did not expect this. All right, they're 5 games above 500. Were they 25-20 here? So they're 9-1 in the last 10 games. They're playing fantastic. The young players are hitting. I think that's really what it is for them. The guys who they were waiting for hitting, who weren't hitting, now they are hitting. So, yeah, I think they are one of the bigger, pleasant surprises this season.
All right, we got some streaming options for players making 1 start next week. We'll tell you who those are next.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
DRS.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that
No.
Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is
Yes.
asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing
No,
was
see,
I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have
down
decent
on a
season.
take
No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not
a
so.
7th-round
There
pick
were two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on SportsGrid. We gave you some 2-start pitchers. Let's give you some 1-start pitchers, some streaming options for next week. And George, although Gunnar Hoglund has made his debut, I saw that happen in Miami. Very highly touted prospect, of course, with the A's, and I think he's pretty good too. I got to tell you, man, that park, I mean, I think LA scored 19 there the other day. It is just a really tough place to pitch. So it's not Colorado. It is not altitude, but it happens to be pretty close. I'm just not going to do this, man. And by the way, I'm not going to do this with anyone. I just don't think that it is a reliable source to throw Sears out there, to throw Hoglund out there, to throw Severino out there against any team. I guess if I was going to do it, the Angels would be the team that I would maybe try. But even though he's pretty good, probably a pass for me.
Survey says no, all the same reasons you said. Plus, it's getting warmer there as well. That ball takes off in that park, and if that wind's blowing any kind. Like I said, I watched the Yankees and Athletics there last weekend. The Yankees scored 1 million runs. There were some balls like, oh, okay, that's a pop out. Why is the outfield still going back and it's gone? I mean, literally, it's like, oh my god. You know, it is Colorado. I don't care if they don't have altitude there. I said it's only getting warmer there, so that ball's going to fly. No thanks. I'm not going to trust any pitcher. Just like I don't trust Colorado, I ain't trusting Sacramento either.
I would agree. All right. So now 7% owned is Jordan Hicks of the San Francisco Giants, who with Hicks, you just got to bank on a lead after 5 innings because you're just not going to get much more than that. He's not going to face anybody 3 times through. Sometimes he'll go 6, but that's about it. They play the Royals. Another one of those, probably a pass for me, George. Just not a huge believer in the Giants. Jung-Ho Lee's been good. Wilmer Flores has been good. They're going to have to score several runs ahead of Hicks to start. And by the way, Hicks has not been as good as he has in the past too. So probably a pass for me.
Same here. All right, we're going to be in agreement here. It's the 5 innings that bothers me because what am I hoping for here? He's going to strike out enough to really matter for strikeouts. Okay, ratios, maybe he'll protect them. Maybe even do some damage there. But no, win probably unlikely. Quality start almost certainly not. So no, I can't go here for the reasons you mentioned. There'll be somebody else better that I'd rather go with.
All right, now this one is a must start for me. I know this is crazy, but he's on the White Sox, George. I saw this guy pitch. I mean, let's give some credit to the White Sox for picking off a Rule 5 starter who's the best pitcher on their team, Shane Smith. I mean, this guy is legit, George. Like, every time he pitches, he's deep into the games. He's striking guys out. They don't win, and they don't score runs for him, but he's really good. He's 23% owned. I'm telling you, this number is going to go up by the end of the season. There's a shot this guy is their all-star, and the White Sox will get one. But there's a shot that he is their all-star in Atlanta this summer. Shane Smith is a good pitcher. Matchup against Seattle, I mean, doable. I know a lot of people probably will scoff at this, but he's got good stuff. I like this kid.
I mean, I would like to go against you here, fight a little bit, but the numbers tell you that, yeah. Listen, if you need a win, if you're in a points league, maybe he's not your guy because you need that W. It's more important than anything else. If you're in a roto league, yeah, he'll be good with the ratios for you. Strike out some guys here. Always a chance for a win. Seattle is scoring more runs of late than they have been here, and I do worry. I haven't checked it. I don't know who he's against. He's up against Castillo or he's up against Brian Wu. W is probably highly unlikely as the White Sox can't hit their way out of a paper bag. So other than that, yeah, I agree with everything you said here. And at this point, I'd be surprised if he's not their representative in Atlanta.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the single start pitchers this week are not very good. We'll end with Landon Roop, Sam. Let's end there. Landon Roop of the Giants, 9% owned, high strikeout kid. Friday against Washington hasn't been great. I mean, maybe Hoagland if I had to, but Smith is really the only one that we've just discussed that I can endorse. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm crazy about any of these guys. If I had to start one, it probably would be Root, by the way. All right, just because, I don't know. It's the Giants, better chance for a W. At Washington, pitchers ballpark here. Nationals don't have the greatest offense on the planet. Just don't let Wood beat you. We really haven't seen the real C.J. Abrams yet, which I think we will. Dylan Cruz, Lowe's hit some home runs. That's about it. I do expect the Nationals maybe to get a little better but just avoid Wood and you do well here.
All right, we got to take a quick timeout. We've got another hour to go here, and we got some football to cover coming up next. We'll get into the schedule and everything that's happened this past week. There's actually been some news in the NFL, so we'll get to that. In addition, download the SportsGrid app. It's available for iOS and Android. Just take out your phone and scan that QR code. It is the SportsGrid app, available and streaming our programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'll be back with more fantasy sports today in our second hour of the show. Before we turn it over to our basketball coverage, of course, some big games remaining in the end, including tomorrow's Western Conference Game 7 between Oklahoma City and Denver.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round
pick. There were 2
who didn't even play good.
Quarterbacks recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.